All right. Andreas, what's your question?
Hello. So I have four questions to be more specific. So first things first, do we have to use enums in Garage?
What do you mean?
Because the thing is that the way I did Garage, I wasn't able to make it work at all. And then today the professor mentioned enums and how we're gonna have to use it for this project apparently.
Well, if you look at the garage.cpp that we give you, um, right, we don't have any enums.
So okay, so enums are not required. Okay. Also, operator overloading, is that at all required?
Um, well, if we didn't ask you to create an operator overload, then you don't have to.
Okay. Now I have another question, but this is basically a syntax type of error.
Hmm.
For some reason, I can't have my code just doesn't run, and I've asked multiple people and even tried myself multiple times, just can't figure out why. Would you be able to look at my code quickly, or
What do
is that
you
not
what do
allowed?
you mean by it won't run?
Basically, it just doesn't compile, and I don't know why. It says the
What are you compiling?
Is it a
Yeah, what is
compiler
it? What
or a
is it?
linker issue?
I think it's a compiler.
Well, what does it say?
I'll tell you right now. Give me one, because let me just pull it out. Great scope. It
Oh,
just
it's not
tells
great
me,
scope.
Do you
yes.
compile it locally?
I tried multiple times. It just doesn't give me anything. It just says no such file or directory.
Well,
Uh-huh.
what are you compiling?
Wait, yeah.
Well, I was compiling. Well, when I put it in Grayscope, it said the problem was bus. So that's what
Don't
I'm trying to figure out right now.
don't debug through Gradescope though.
Yeah. What you should do is you should compile each file by itself, right? So just have the vehicle files and your car files in the same folder, then just compile car.cpp, okay? And if
Okay.
car.cpp compiles, that means your car.hpp are fine, and the vehicle classes are fine, which they should be because it's given.
Okay. One more thing. In my garage function, all the voids that we have put, every time I put an equal sign or a greater than sign in the C out, it just puts like an error sign and says it just doesn't exist there. You can't put those two
Because you
together.
cannot, well, you cannot, are you trying to print out like the array or a vehicle?
I believe so. Yeah.
Well, you can't, right? You can't just print out an object. So you're gonna have to call the getter functions and print out those outputs. But you cannot
Okay.
just simply print out an object
Okay. So
unless
what about the
you,
equal signs? Is it the same thing?
essentially, but we overloaded equal signs, so you should be fine with that. So it might be a
Okay.
different issue. You're gonna have to look into it.
Okay. Thank you so much.
No problem. All right. Lisa, and then Eduardo, and then Ruth.
So my question was that like I noticed that all of my codes, all of the files that I have I was trying to call the the parameterized constructor vehicle, but then whenever I do that, there's a squiggly line under name and manufacturer, and it says that expects a parentheses, but it's supposed to be like calling the constructor.
How are you calling? So, uh, in what file are you talking about?
I put in both the HPP file and also the CPP file.
What I know, but like, give me an example of what you're talking about.
Yeah, so then so all of the children class files like those children
Mm-hmm.
class files, they all have I put like in a public member as a public member vehicle and in parentheses string name, string manufacturer, and like all the way to
So
the
wait, so you're creating in the children class, you're creating the class's parameterized constructor, right? And you're calling the vehicle constructor inside of the parameterized constructor for the children.
oh, I'm supposed to do that or
Well,
because
what were
actually
you thinking?
I just have the vehicle constructor and also the truck constructor, like as two separate ones.
No,
So
well, the
Good.
vehicle constructor, uh, what?
A vehicle constructor is a separate entity from the truck constructor.
Yeah, the vehicle constructor is for vehicle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
You cannot create another object's constructor inside another object. You can only call the constructor anywhere, but you cannot define the constructor of one object inside another object.
You have to treat them as separate classes.
Yeah. So so like for example, for truck, you can only create the truck constructor, but in the implementation of the constructor, you can call the vehicle constructor.
Oh, okay. So then in that case, the vehicle constructor would just be in a CPP file, like within the truck constructor.
Yes. And that's
Okay.
only when because you're calling it, right? And the only reason this works is because vehicle is a parent. So you can call the parent constructor to do whatever, and then you can, if you look at the comments, you still have to do some additional stuff inside the truck constructor.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, Eduardo?
Yeah, what's up, man? So I'm getting like a few issues. So I think my arrange function is messed up. But the weird thing is that when I submitted my program to Gradescope, it is marking my add vehicle and remove vehicle correct. But I still think the arrange function might be messed up. But so then I run into an issue when I'm doing the swap vehicles. Basically, what I noticed is that I guess when I arranged when I hit the arrange function and arrange the cars, some of my cars just end up disappearing. Like in the example that they gave, the Gradescope is using, I just kind of reproduced that in a main function.
So how are you testing your arrange function?
So I was printing, so in like different spots, I was printing the what is it, like the array and the indexes, and .get name to see like the name of what was actually in each index. So I had a line where basically for my arrange function I created another dynamic array, and then by the end of the arrange function I set my old array equal to this new array, and it tends to be that's where like what was in my original array, all the stuff disappears.
Well, then, so you're supposed to delete the old array before setting the variable to the new array.
So maybe that's my issue. Let's see. So
well, that's one thing. I would just say keep playing around with it. You're gonna have to try different things. And if you're like truly stuck, then you can just email us.
All right, and then I just ran into another like error that I'm not sure. I could just drop it in. I'll just drop it in here in the chat. I tried to reproduce the example in Gradescope.
That's just you're allocating incorrectly. So you're allocating. I believe it's you're putting an object somewhere where it shouldn't be, or you're allocating space for an array, but there's a problem with that.
Got it.
Did you look up what this error means? Yeah. Did you look up what this memory means?
No, I haven't. I just recently stumbled on this error, so I'm gonna look into that.
And yeah, just look up. First, look up the entire error, and then see like what it means. And if you can't find anything useful, look up parts of the error, right? So like, what does set a breakout in malloc error break mean, or like terminating with uncaught whatever? Look up parts of it. All right, but first you should look up the entire error from where it says.
I think he's accessing memory. I think he's accessing memory that he's not supposed to.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Or that he does not say. Yeah.
Well, technically, that would just be a seg fault if he was accessing memory. He's not allowed to.
Gotcha.
Right.
And
yeah, so that's what a seg fault. Go ahead.
And I guess just for my thinking for the swap vehicle function is that is it as simple as that, like you're basically like you're going to pull out the car that you're taking out to, you'll pull that car out and then you're going to stick in the new car.
Yep, that's it.
So then I have that right. Yeah, I just think my range function is messed up. So
yeah, I think it has to do with the last steps of your range function dealing with the new array. So just do what I said. Try that first. Delete the old array, then set that variable to the new array, and see if that helps. If not, just look up the error and try figuring out what it means, and then what it means for your code.
got it. So just sorry to stay on this, but right before I set my old array equal to this new array, delete it then?
Yeah, delete it right before.
Gotcha. All right. I'll see if that works. Thanks, man.
No problem. All right, Ruth?
For the truck, I'm getting use of undeclared identifier because the variables are private. I'm not sure how to fix that.
What variables are private?
It says the cargo capacity and weight of held cargo for task 1.
Well, that shouldn't be a problem because those should be private in its own class. Yeah. But if anything, you have setters and getters you can use.
You have public functions that can manipulate those private variables.
Yeah, but she's still getting the error. I would just say, yeah, so if they're private memory variables, right? Because like in Project Zero, you were able to access these private members, right? So it might be just a keyword that was misspelled or something. But yeah, you should be able to directly access them within the same class.
Okay. Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I would just say just look around. Maybe you'll find something. Shiwei. All right, he's reconnecting. Charles, what's up?
Can you hear me? Oh yeah, all right.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I wanted some clarification on the directions for the arrange function. I didn't really understand what it meant by having all non-null vehicles strictly at the end.
Oh, it's not changed yet, is it? Okay. All right. Here, I'll type it out and then I'll share my screen so that everyone can see it instead of having to listen to my voice, but like in the recordings. But essentially it's you're gonna move all the items in the array to the front of the array. And that's it. So I'm gonna type out move all items in array to the front and all null vehicles, which is a null : v, to the end.
Does order matter for the
in this case, yes.
Essentially, yeah.
Okay.
But how the cars are arranged, I think no, because the auto grader is now so that it checks for all cases, right?
Yeah, so we chain the auto grader because we realize everyone's orders are getting mixed up. So in the arrange function, we don't necessarily care about order, but you should try to keep it organized. But if it is like unordered, I think we account for that. But yeah, so it shouldn't like if there's like two cars back to back, right? Your arrange function shouldn't swap them, right? They should just stay there. But let's say there's like a car and then there's two spots that are empty in the array and then another car. Then what the arrange function is supposed to do is move that car that's further away, move it to the front so that it's all vehicles fill up the front of the array and then the rest of it is null vehicles. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. You said earlier that we have to delete the original array for this function?
Yeah.
Okay. And I guess this is a little unrelated, but do we need to make like a destructor? Because I didn't really destructor for the garage class?
You can if you want,
Okay.
but you don't need to.
Oh, it's not. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But I mean, if you want to try, you can. All right. Jamar. So,
Hello, you can hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
I'm having trouble with testing my program because for some reason
Okay.
in Visual Studio Code I keep getting an undefined reference to the class, even though I included the class file in the main CPP.
Okay. Hold on. First, this is the range function. Okay. I spelled that wrong. I don't know how to spell. Range. Thank you. Is it 1 hour or 2 hours? I don't know. Whatever. It's 1 hour. No, it's 2 hours. Whatever. Anyways, so this is how it should be, right? For classes in general, right? In general, not in most cases. In these cases, include the HPP in the CPP of the same class. Okay. For inheritance, you include the HPP of the parent in the HPP of the child, and in your main, you include I believe you include the CPPs of the children into the main file. I believe that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you're compiling it, you compile the CPPs, okay? But if you're compiling the main, or if you're using a main.cpp, you only compile the
Compile the
main.cpp.
main.
Yeah. If you don't have a main.cpp, you only compile the CPP of the children. All right? Does that help?
Yeah, it's just that I was getting the same kind of error when I was doing Project Zero, and it made it basically impossible to test it with VS Code.
Were all the files in the same folder?
Yeah.
Hold on. One second. All right. What you're gonna do is go through all your files, okay? And then in an email, type out what's being included in each of the files, and then send that email to me, and then I'll tell you if there's something wrong. Because it's not a linker error, right? Does it say linker error?
You mean a linker error? What do you mean?
On your
What
console,
is
when you compile it, does it say a linker error or a runtime error?
what does the error say exactly?
It says something like in function main, undefined reference to.
Oh, that's a linker error.
Yeah.
Undefined reference to what?
Undefined reference to, I think, it's the class. Undefined reference to the class.
Okay, actually, let's make this simple. Just make a ticket and just send me your main.cpp. And then in the description or in the bottom, just write that I told you to send me this email from the lab. Okay?
Okay.
And then I'll look at your main.cpp.
Okay.
Right, but you should play around with it. Try only including the children CPP files. All right, that's it. So you should include car.cpp, truck.cpp, motorcycle.cpp, and bus.cpp, and also garage.cpp. Okay, and make sure all the files are in the same folder, including the main file. and including the vehicle files. So everything should be in the same folder. And then when you compile it, only compile the main.cpp.
Okay.
Okay? Try that first if you haven't already. And then if you're still getting the error, then make the ticket and do everything I said.
Okay.
Cool. All right.
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Is there a place where I can see how the project 0 was done? Because I totally got it wrong, and I don't know why. But is there a place that I can find the solution to it so I can practice?
No, we don't give out solutions to programs. But what
So
I
then,
can
how do
do
I
is,
know if it's wrong, or like
yeah,
how do I
so
know what to fix or whatever?
so you can shoot the CS help an email, and say that I told you to send me the email, and say like, take a look at my project 0. Can you help me with what I did wrong? And I'll give you a general kind of uh thing of like what went wrong. Okay. If there were
Yeah,
compile errors, then I'll tell you to compile it on your own though. Because I want you guys to figure out or to notice what the errors are. If there are compile errors, you don't have to know what they mean. Just know that oh, I'm getting this compiler, right? But if they're like typos or
yeah.
something, then I'll point it out specifically.
I don't know. I just find that whenever I have to email back and forth, I still get frustrated and I still get it wrong. I'm more like I need to see a completed solution type person to like figure it out.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You can sign up for a tutoring session. So if you want that instead, then just ask for a tutoring session. And a tutor will spend like half an hour going through it, going through your code,
Okay.
right?
Okay. And then, okay. So one last question. To for the vehicle or for this project,
Mm-hmm.
what are we uploading? Like which? Because we got three HPP, CPP. Like, are we
Take
just
a look at the
changing?
end of the take a look at the end of the assignment sheet,
Okay.
right? At the end of the assignment sheet, we tell you exactly. Hold on, there was a typo in there. I hope it was fixed. If not, that is big, big rip. All right, it hasn't been fixed yet. Nice. One second, one second, one second. Share application here. I'll just go through it with you just in case. All right. We always tell you what to submit in the assignment sheet. All right. You should submit all these files, all the bus files. This is supposed to say car.cpp, right? But essentially, all the bus files, all the car files, all the garage files, all the motorcycle files and truck files, right? So you're not submitting the vehicle files because we gave you that, right? So you should submit all of these. Again, this should be car.cpp, but it's all
You're
Okay.
the
not
bus
sharing your
files,
screen, by the
right?
way, if you're trying to share your screen.
All right, do you see
I
now?
see.
Yeah, now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, my bad. I'll be right back. Someone's calling my phone.
But I'll explain it.
Okay.
So all the bus CPP and HPP files, car CPP and HPP, garage also, motorcycle, truck. The only ones you don't put in are the vehicle ones because those are given. And there's a typo in here. Was it fixed? Wait. It says car.hpp twice. That's a typo. It's supposed to say car.hpp and car.cpp.
Oh, I
So yeah, those
see.
files you have to submit for project one.
Okay, so then how do we submit them? Because Gradescope only lets you submit one. Oh, I guess you just
No, you can submit all of them.
you submit more than one. Okay, yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. Thanks.
no problem.
All right, cool. So you guys all see that? All right, awesome. Shiwei, what's your question?
So can you look at my Grayscope? It says like no such files or directory for all
That means
my.
you have a compiler. That or your did you implement all the tasks in project 1?
Yes.
Then you have a compiler, so you should compile it on your computer
Yeah,
and see what happens.
for each one in my main .cpp, I use include like bus.cpp and there's no problem for that. But when I do like bus.cpp and car.cpp, like multiple CPP, there's a compiler error, so I don't really get it.
Okay, let me just check. I'll tell you what the error is if there is an error, and then you can look it up.
Yeah.
All right, unless it's from our side. Okay. 1 second. Okay, yeah. So like I said before, like I said earlier, include vehicle.hpp in the children's HPP classes. Okay? And
Yeah,
do
not
not
the CPP.
Yeah, not the CPP. Include the HPP.
Yeah, I did that in my own local files just now, but when I still try to compile, there's still error.
All right. Well, you're having redefinition errors. That's one thing. The other thing is with vehicles. So, hold on, I have to check one thing.
And what's the redefinition error?
That just means you're
It means you're
over.
including files.
Yeah. Oh, wait. I think I know what's wrong. Oh, okay. So it's because of how you created your HPP files. So if you look at, let's say project 0, right? Look at
Does it
how
have
we
if and
created
that?
it. Yeah, so you're not defining your header files. So to understand what that means, you have to, I would say, look at project 0 and look at the first 2 lines we have, the first 2 lines of code, and the last line of code.
Oh, okay. And if, okay.
So you need to have the if not defined, define, and then the last line should be end if.
Okay, got it.
All right. So yeah, do that for all your header files, and you should be good to go.
And one last question. Well, for now.
Yeah.
So it should work if I just compile my main.cpp, right? If I just include all the CPPs, children CPPs in there.
Yeah.
If I fix it, and do I have to include the vehicle.cpp in main?
No, because they're included in the children.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem. Like technically, this is the same thing in that if you included IOStream in, let's say, car.cpp. No, let's say you included IOStream in like car.hpp. You don't need to include IOStream in the main if you included car. But I mean, people do it anyways. So it doesn't really make a difference, but it is recommended.
Why do we have to include vehicle.hpp in the children HPP?
Well, it's inheritance, right? So we need the parent class available for the children class. The reason we include header files is because we care about the function definitions, right? The prototypes, but we don't care about the implementation until runtime. And so in runtime, that's when all the implementations work. Yeah. You're going to learn more about that in a different class, hopefully.
But like in vehicle.cpp, it included the vehicle.hpp.
Yep.
So the vehicle.hpp doesn't transfer to the children.hpp?
Well, you need to include vehicle.hpp in the children's HPP classes, right? And so at runtime, this is the compiler or whatever, the computer looks at the CPP files and like works out where all the code is from and where it should be available and all that. Oh no, Violin, do you have a better answer?
So think of it this way: you define
All right,
in the vehicle.hpp. You tell what the functions actually do in the vehicle CPP. So the vehicle HPP has the functions, but you include the vehicle.cpp in the HPP to have the definition of the functions. Now that vehicle CPP, you also want to distribute it to the children. That's why you include the HPP of the vehicle, because the HPP has the CPP.
Yeah.
Was that good?
So even though we don't include the CPP in the HPP, the computer still links them together. You could think of it that way. But you have to include the HPP in the CPPs. And the HPP of the parent has to be included in the HPP of the children, because we only care about the function definitions, right? So like
The definitions.
Yeah, so in like car, right? In the car constructor, you're gonna call the vehicle constructor, right? So you're including car.hpp and car.cpp. So the first place the car.cpp looks, is its included files, right? So if we're calling the vehicle constructor is gonna look in the car HPP, and it's not gonna find it there, but it'll find that vehicle.hpp is included. So it's gonna look there, it's gonna look into vehicle.hpp, right? And then it's gonna see, oh look, there's a vehicle constructor in the vehicle class, so you can use this in the car class because of how it's included, right? And then when everything compiles, right, that's how it checks it. And then when you run it, it's going to go to vehicle.hpp. It's going to find the vehicle.cpp file in the same directory. Then it's going to take its implementation and then run that code, and then go back through the ladder or whatever the path back to the car constructor, and then do whatever is left in the constructor.
All right, got it. So
Yeah.
do we have to include vehicle.hpp and vehicle.cpp in the children HPP? Or
Yes.
You just have to include HPP?
Well, vehicle's already done for you, right? So all you have to care about is including vehicle.hpp in the children's HPP classes.
Yeah.
Not the
Do we include the
CPP.
CPP? We don't have
Not the
No,
CPP.
not the CPP.
Only the HPP.
Because
also
the
think of
vehicle
it,
HPP will have the CPP.
Yeah, but also think of it like this, right? The private member variables are created in the HPP, not the CPP. So if we want access to those, we have to include the HPP, not the CPP.
All right, thank you.
No problem. All right, Eduardo, what's up? And Lisa, I'm checking right now.
Yeah, my bad. Yeah, so I'm still trying to debug the arrange function. So I think I'm starting to see that. Yeah, I don't know. Weirdly, so when I do delete bracket, and then the original dynamic array, then I decided, I was like, all right, let me see if I can like see out all the indexes of that array.
Mm-hmm.
So like they still exist. So I don't know. Is that how it should be, or should once I delete it and then I try to see out those indexes, shouldn't they not exist?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Yeah, computers work a little weird. We imagine, hey, once you delete an array, then all its values are gone, blah, blah, blah. But in reality, the way it works is that the values stay in those memory addresses. It's just that we unallocate it. So what that means is now whatever values
can be rewritten.
Yeah.
But it's still there technically.
Yeah. So the values are still there, but we unallocated it. So now we can do whatever. It's technically freeing up memory in the sense that the values that are there can now be overwritten by anything else we want to put in that memory.
Gotcha.
So it doesn't clear
Any
it.
other
It's just like
program.
it can be overwritten.
Gotcha. And then if I didn't do that, it wouldn't allow me to overwrite it then, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it would like save that. It will keep that memory space allocated, so it cannot be overwritten. But then if you like make your array pointer point to a new array, then that old array is still allocated
lost.
memory,
It's
but it's
lost.
lost. So we cannot change
Point
anything
back to it.
there. Yeah, but it's still like you cannot overwrite this. So now there's just a chunk of memory that's there that's basically taking up space, dead weight, right? Because it cannot be
That's memory
overwritten,
leak.
and and that's what a memory leak is.
Got it.
Essentially.
Okay. And then I think one thing I'm noticing is like, I think for my for loop, when I'm trying to set this, when I'm trying to set like the old arrays, like the vehicle values to the front of this new array, for some reason, I don't know, I think my for loop isn't, maybe it's not running enough times, so it doesn't get to the end of the original array. But
So
maybe that's
my
maybe
hint,
with
my
num
hint is,
vehicles.
yeah. So my hint is, first of all, num vehicles. I know it's worded weirdly, but num vehicles is supposed to represent the amount of spaces taken up, right? So
Yeah.
if I put in a car, then num vehicles should be 2, right? Because the car takes up 2 spots, right? That's the first thing. Second thing, make sure in remove you're subtracting by the amount of spaces that vehicle represented, right? So if you're removing a bus, then granted the bus was in the array, after you remove it, you should decrease num vehicles by however many spaces a bus takes up, right?
Yeah.
Same thing when you add a vehicle, add it by how many space, plus equals by how many spaces it takes up. That's one thing. The next thing is, I don't know if you did this already, but you should populate the array that populate the rest of the array that isn't taken up by a vehicle. Populate that with null vehicle. Right. So essentially, when you're creating the array the first time, populate the entire array with null vehicles, and that'll make it easier to figure out what spot in memory is a vehicle and what's not a vehicle.
And when you
Right?
say
Because
populate, sorry, when you say populate the array, you mean populate the original array that's given, or the new one we're creating to help?
well, technically both.
Gotcha.
Right?
Yeah, sorry, I cut you off. I think you were gonna make one more point too.
No, I was just gonna say this makes it easier in the sense that now if the entire array is filled with either a vehicle or a null vehicle, right? If the current in your for loop, you can check if the current spot that you're checking in the array is not a null vehicle, then it's a vehicle, and you just move it up in the new array, right? And then if it is a null vehicle, you add it at the end, right? So it just makes it easier because you know that there can only be 2 things in the array and only 2 things. So yeah.
Because, and if I understand your point, like if I didn't populate the array with nulls, then technically there's 3 things, right? There's null, a vehicle, and then just like empty space.
Well, it's not empty space. Remember before how we had when you deallocate an array, the value still stays in that memory space, right? So in this case, it's not an empty space. There is a garbage value in that space already, right? Yeah. That's all.
Oh, so I actually think that's messing me up. All right. Thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it.
No problem. All right, Eduardo, what's up? Oh wait, no, wait, that was you. Sorry, I'm at Charles.
Yeah, I have a few questions. Like, to go back to compiling with main.cpp. I just need the headers of all of the children's and the garage HPP, right, in the header. Do I need anything else?
Wait, sorry, for what?
For the main file that I'm going to be compiling, right? I need the headers for all of the children class and the headers for the garage, right? Am I missing anything, or is there something else that needs to be there?
No, that's it.
Okay. And
Wait,
then,
in the main file, you need the CPPs, not the
Oh
HPPs.
yeah, my bad. Yeah, in the main file you include the CPPs of all those.
Yes. Because the CPPs will have the HPPs of the
included. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
in the case of the main file is because we need the implementations, but we don't need the definitions.
and you include that CPP using the same hashtag thing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, include CPP.
Yeah, just do hashtag include car.cpp, hashtag include motorcycle.cpp,
Commas,
and so on.
yeah.
And to go back to the point you just made about filling the entire array with null vehicles, right? Does that mean you need to do that in the constructor and then also downstairs for the arrange?
I believe that, yeah, you should do it in the constructors.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was going to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
All right, Guy, what's up?
Hey, so I guess you've already covered the null vehicle stuff.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you can ask. Go ahead.
Well, maybe I'll watch the video and then see if I get it. But the thing we're supposed to do is put some null vehicles into the array and then put real vehicles on top of those.
Well, so basically what I recommended was populate the entire array with null vehicles, so that when you add a vehicle, you can just replace the and then same thing with remove. You replace the vehicle you want to remove with a null vehicle.
With a null.
Right. I'm having a little trouble with the syntax of that stuff. So.
Well, you can just set them equal. So you can say like array at I equals null vehicle.
Right. Can I put some code into the chat here? Is that okay?
Well, what's your problem? Or what's the issue?
Creating the array of null vehicles in the constructor of the garage.
You're dynamically creating the array, right? So you just
What do you mean by dynamically?
That's when you use the keyword new.
Okay, then I am.
Okay, so you do like array equals new vehicle array. And then you would have a for loop that goes through each indice in the array and just sets it equal to a null vehicle.
Oh, so I can't just, what I put in the chat I can't do?
No.
Let me see. No, that's not how it works, because null vehicle is not it's not a data type. Null vehicle is an object, like an object instance, right? So
you want to create an array of objects.
Yeah, so you have to create an array of an object, right? So the object is vehicle, right? So what you wrote doesn't make sense because null vehicle is an instance. You got it. And no pointers. You don't need to put a pointer there.
Oh, okay. So
the word new already.
Yeah, then the word new already takes care of all that.
Yeah.
That?
Yeah, exactly. And make sure to set the member variable capacity equal to the parameter capacity.
Right. And then I still need to loop and put the vehicles in the spots.
Yeah, that's what I recommend. There might be a way where you don't need to use null vehicle as often, But I recommend keeping everything in terms of a vehicle or a null vehicle. It just makes life easier.
And then for the arrange part, I'm not really clear on what I need to do there.
Yeah, so I put that in the video, but I can do it again. Essentially, the arrange function is move all vehicles to the front of the array.
And by the front,
And
you mean like the zero, starting with the zero
The
as
left.
opposed to starting?
yeah,
The left side.
so
Yeah.
like let's say I had a capacity of 12, right? And I had 3 vehicles, 3 cars, right? Car 1 filled up the first 2 spots, car 2 filled up the second 2 spots, then car 3 filled up the third 2 spots, right? So that's 2, 4, 6 spots in the array that are filled with cars, right? And let's say I remove car 2, so now the first 2 spots in the array are filled with car 1. Then
Okay.
indices 3 and 4, sorry, 2 and 3 are filled with emptiness,
Nulls.
and then the next 2 are filled with car 3. So we want to move all the cars to the front so that there's no gaps in between vehicles, and then the rest of the space is all null vehicles.
Right.
And this is where having null vehicles comes in handy.
Yeah. Because it's easier to keep track in the array.
Yeah.
Of what's a vehicle and what's not.
Right. And how do I determine what is a vehicle and what's a non-vehicle? So as I'm looping through that.
So yeah, so that's what me and Valen are saying. Like, if you keep track of, or if you keep everything, if you populate the array as an all null vehicles, then when you insert arrays, or when you insert vehicles, you can just replace null vehicles with this vehicle you're adding,
Actual
right?
car.
When you remove, you can replace the vehicle you want to remove with the null vehicle. So now you always have in the array something in the space.
Right. So when I do the arrange, and what I want to do is create a new empty array, or not an empty array, but a new array of null vehicles when I do my arrange. So when I loop through my old array, how do I determine what's a vehicle and what's a null vehicle?
Well, if it's not equal to null vehicle, if the current index in the, or if the current item you're looking at in the array is not equal to null vehicle, then it's a vehicle. Because everything
so I need to override the equals operator for that?
That's already been done for you.
Oh, has it?
That's on the vehicle. Yeah.
Yeah, in the vehicle class.
Ah, okay, that helps.
Yeah, we overrided the assignment, the comparison, and the not equal comparison.
Overrode?
Yeah, we overrode all of them.
Thanks. Yeah,
So
voila.
Yeah, you can use all of them.
Okay. Great. Thanks for the help.
No problem, man.
Appreciate
No problem.
it. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Joswell?
Yeah, so I have a question. So, when it says there in the project 1 page, let me see if I could go to it. It states that you have to basically contain the method for car, which is the constructor, with the same variables as vehicle. Do we have to put that in manually, or is it automatically there because the car is related to the vehicle class?
Where do you see this?
In task 1, basically. The first part of task 1 says class car must contain the following methods.
Yeah, so you should call the vehicle constructor, right? And then call these next 2 functions. And the way to access them is if you include vehicle in car. So you have to include the vehicle file in the car file.
Oh yeah, I know that, but like what it says here, like car standard string name, do we have to put that in manually, or is there some other way to do that?
What do you mean by put it in manually?
You
Like
mean in
actually
the
type it
parameters?
in. Yeah, type it in manually.
You set the parameters from vehicle to car.
Wait, no. So you just pass. Yeah, you'd have to pass each of these values in the vehicle constructor manually. Is that what you mean?
In the well, it says
Yeah.
car constructor, but
Yeah, but in the car constructor, we're gonna call the vehicle constructor,
okay.
right? And in the vehicle constructor, we have to pass each of these parameters that have been passed through the car constructor. You have to pass it again in the vehicle constructor.
Okay. So let me see if I get this straight. So in the car class, we're calling the vehicle constructor, and we're also calling the car constructor.
No. You're calling. If you look at the comment's for the car constructor, right? So in the car constructor, you're calling the vehicle constructor.
So it would basically be car parentheses, and in that parentheses you would have the vehicle constructor.
Where would you put the vehicle constructor?
Like in
Not inside the parentheses, no.
Inside the curly braces, yeah.
Okay.
Or there are other places to put it if you want. Okay. Yeah. Try it out and see what happens. Play around with it.
Alright.
Alright. Shibai?
So I did fix the HPP files, and there's no errors on my side, but when I submit to Grayscope, there's error.
Okay. I shall see. One second. Missing declarations. Okay. Let's see. What could be no problemo? Okay. Alright, first of all, you don't need to use bus : for number of seats.
But isn't those that variable and the parameterize the argument the same name?
So that's not how you do it. You use the keyword this.
So this equals?
So you write number of seats equals this number of seats.
Oh.
Trying to figure out what this error means. Valen, do you know?
Sorry?
It says mixing declarations and function definitions.
No.
Alright.
Can you send that to me?
Oh, hold on. I'll check it out. Oh, it's because you're including both vehicle.hpp and vehicle.cpp. You only include vehicle.hpp.
For which one? Only
In bus.
Bus stage. Oh, okay.
Yeah, only include the HPP.
Oh yeah. Yeah, function and definition, declaration of function definition. Oh, it says it in the name.
Yeah. All right, so that should solve your problems.
Okay, I'll try it. Thank you.
All right, no problem. All right, any more questions in the last 2 minutes?
I'm still having the issue with the ambiguous, and I tried to search it online. They said to remove the using namespace std, so I just moved that to the vehicle.hpp file. The weird thing is that my car.hpp, it's the same as the rest of them, but that one didn't have the error, but in the other ones it have the error.
So I would say submit all those files into Grayscope.
Okay.
And then see what happens.
Got it. Thank you.
Oh, it could also be because you might have to include string, but I don't see why that's needed. But yeah, you have to include. Actually, just submit it all in Grayscope, and I'll tell you. I'll see what's wrong.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any final questions?
So for your children CPP files, you only need to include the child HPP. You don't need to include the parent HPP.
Yep, you got it.
Thank you.
No problem. Anything else?
For the this syntax,
Mm-hmm.
it keeps giving me errors. Like
Try doing this like that.
okay,
So the number of seats equals this arrow number of seats.
all right, that works. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Next time, just saying if something doesn't work, look it up, see why it doesn't work before asking us, right? Because if you go on to the next class, 335, there's no TA help. There's no one to ask questions. So you guys have to try to learn to be mostly self-sustaining in that you should be able to use the entirety of the internet to help, and then use us as a last resort.
Especially on concepts like this, they'll expect you guys to know them perfectly.
Yeah.
You'll
So
straight up go to
everyone should look up
algorithms
the
and
keyword. All right. Well, that is the end of the session. So I'm gonna end the recording. And yeah, good luck. And Lisa just emailed me saying that you submitted your code.